There's this kind of hidden revolution happening right now. It's transforming one of the most critical fields out there. And it's happening incredibly fast, really, driven by artificial intelligence. So today, we're doing a deep dive into AI-based clinical trial solutions. We're drawing on this really comprehensive market forecast, looking at 2025 and then projecting all the way out to 2033. It's global data from cognitive market research. And our mission really is to unpack what these big numbers actually mean. Why do they signal such a huge shift? And what does it tell us about the future of healthcare?
Exactly. And it's not just impressive figures on a page. It's about why this is happening right now.
Yep.
The global healthcare system, well, it's under constant pressure, isn't it? We need smarter, faster, more accurate ways to run clinical trials. Think about accelerating drug development, handling just vast amounts of data, keeping patients actually engaged. AI is stepping in to fundamentally change how clinical research works. It offers, better efficiency, much more powerful data analysis, and genuinely improved patient engagement. It's tackling those core challenges.
Okay, let's dig into that. Let's unpack these foundational numbers first, just to set the scene. So the global market for these AI solutions, it was already pretty substantial back in 2021, right? Over $1.3 billion.
That's right, $1,340.67 million to be precise. A solid base.
And it's projected to more than double by 2025, so nearly $3 billion.
Uh-huh. $944.8 million is the forecast for 2025.
But then the jump to 2033, it's kind of staggering. We're talking $14.2 billion?
Oh, remarkable. $207.6 million. It really underscores the scale of this shift.
And that huge expansion, it's backed by a compound annual growth rate, a CGR of 21.74%. That seems incredibly high.
It is high. A CAGR like 21.74% signifies really incredible market velocity. It's not just growth. It's rapid, accelerating adoption.
Okay.
It tells us that healthcare systems globally aren't just exploring AI. They're actively investing and implementing it because the need is urgent. And they're seeing those core benefits we talked about. Take efficiency, for example. AI's predictive modeling. It can slash patient recruitment times. We're talking potentially cutting it in half sometimes.
Wow, half.
Yeah, by identifying the right candidates from massive data sets way faster than traditional methods. That alone saves months, maybe years. And then there's the data analytics piece.
Right.
AI can spot these really subtle patterns, maybe drug interactions or efficacy signals that a human analyst might just miss. Leads to safer, more precise treatments. And, critically, patient engagement. Think about AI platforms giving personalized support, reminders, answering questions 24/7.
That helps keep people in the trials, I imagine.
Exactly. It significantly cuts down dropout rates, which is a huge issue in long trials. So it's delivering real, tangible results. That's why the growth is so strong.
Okay, so that explains the why behind that big global number and that CAGR. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Where is this happening? Where is this growth actually concentrated around the world? Which regions are really jumping on this?
Good question. Looking at the regional breakdown, North America definitely stands out. It was the leader back in 2021.
Yeah, the numbers show it had almost half the market then, right? Around $611 million.
Correct. $611.347 million in 2021. And the projection shows it maintaining that lead, growing significantly.
To over $1.3 billion by 2025, and then a huge jump to over $6.2 billion by 2033.
$608.74 million by 2033, yes. With the CAGR just slightly under the global average, but still very strong at 21.3%.
And within North America, I assume the U.S. is the main driver.
Oh, absolutely. The U.S. is dominant. It starts at $486 million in 21 and is projected to hit nearly $4.9 billion by 2033. But Canada is also showing really strong growth, expected to reach over $800 million.
Okay.
And Mexico, too, looking at over $500 million by 2033. So it's really a regional story, not just the U.S., driven by that, strong research base and tech adoption.
Right. Okay, let's hop across the pond to Europe. Still a pretty substantial market there, too.
Very substantial. Europe started at around $284 million in 2021.
Okay, and it's set to double by 2025 to about $610 million.
$609.574 million, yes.
Yeah.
And then pushing towards almost $3 billion by 2033.
So $841.53 million. Again, a really strong CGR, just over 21%.
21.21%. And within Europe, the UK and Germany are major players. The UK is projected to go from about $38 million to over $400 million.
Wow.
And Germany, starting stronger at $55 million, is heading towards nearly $600 million by 2033.
And other big European countries, France, Italy, Spain.
Also showing solid growth trajectories. Their KGRs are all hovering around that 22% mark. It shows, widespread momentum across the continent. There's a real focus on medical research and adopting these new techs.
Okay. Now, you mentioned one region had the highest growth rate, Asia Pacific.
That's the one. Asia Pacific is really a key growth engine here. It boasts the highest CAGR globally, over 23%.
23.166%, starting from around $242 million in 2021.
Yes, $242.662 million.
And projected to hit over $500 million by 2025 and then nearly $3 billion by 2033.
An impressive $955.19 million by 2033. It's catching up fast.
So what's driving that incredible growth there?
Well, China plays a huge role, expected to reach over $850 million by 2033. But India is really the standout story in terms of rate of growth. It has the highest country-specific CAGR anywhere, over 24%.
Wow, 24.157%, from about $33 million up to over $450 million.
Exactly, $33.73 million to $452.144 million. It's quite a leap. And it's not just them. You also see Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Australia, all showing notable growth. Asia-Pacific is just a critical, really dynamic force, large populations, increasing healthcare investment. It all feeds into this.
Got it. Okay, let's move to South America. Still seeing significant growth there, too.
Yes, definitely scaling up. South America has a CGR of over 22%.
22.065%, starting from about $87 million in 2021.
$87.144 million.
Yeah.
And projected to grow to nearly $1 billion by 2033. But Argentina and Colombia are also making significant contributions. You see this trend of modernizing healthcare research capabilities across the region.
Makes sense. What about the Middle East?
The Middle East is also showing robust growth, started around $72 million in 2021.
Okay, $72.396 million and heading towards almost $800 million by 2033.
$783.836 million,
Yeah.
with a strong CAGR just under 22%.
21.94%. Key players.
Saudi Arabia and the UAE are really leading the charge there. Strong double-digit growth. Turkey and Egypt are also performing robustly, often linked to, ambitious national healthcare strategies and big tech investments.
Right. And finally, Africa. How does it fit into this global picture?
Africa shows steady progress. It's starting from a smaller base, about $43 million in 2021.
$42.902 million, growing too.
Projected to reach over $460 million by 2033, so $463.311 million. The CAGR is solid, over 21%, similar to Europe, actually.
Interesting, 21.218%, and within Africa.
South Africa is clearly the leader there. Its revenue is expected to expand from about $16 million to nearly $190 million by 2033. It really demonstrates that this isn't just a phenomenon in developed economies. It's global. Every continent is seeing the value in streamlining clinical research with AI.
Okay, wow. That's a lot of numbers, a lot of regions, but it paints a really clear picture. So bringing it all together, what does this explosion in AI for clinical trials really mean? For you, the listener, for medicine overall, this cognitive market research data seems to shout transformation.
It really does. If you connect all those dots, the global growth, the regional surges, the high KGRs, it translates directly into real-world benefits. We're talking about fundamentally smarter, faster, and much more accurate clinical trials.
Which means
quicker drug development. Think about that. Getting vital new treatments to patients potentially years sooner than before. Imagine a drug for a condition like Alzheimer's or a specific cancer. If AI can shave even a year or two off the typical 10, 12-year development cycle.
That's huge for patients waiting.
It's immense. And it also opens the door wider for personalized medicine. AI can analyze an individual's genetic makeup, their specific response data in a trial. It helps tailor treatments, identify who will benefit most from a particular drug, moving away from that kind of one-size-fits-all approach.
Right, more targeted therapies.
Exactly. So this widespread tech integration isn't just an efficiency gain, it's fundamentally changing how we develop and potentially deliver healthcare. It forces us to think about the implications.
Yeah, the data is just unequivocal, isn't it? AI isn't just tweaking clinical research, it's revolutionizing it. It's making future medical breakthroughs hopefully more efficient and more accessible for everyone.
It definitely points that way. And, it raises a really interesting question to ponder. If AI is changing how we test new treatments this quickly, this dramatically, what does that imply for how we'll discover entirely new therapies or how we'll deliver healthcare day to day in the, pretty near future? What other questions should we be asking now about how fast AI is pushing medical innovation forward?
That's a powerful thought to end on, something for all of us to reflect on. Consider what this deep dive means for how you understand tech progress and its really profound impact on our lives and the future of medicine. Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine for a moment the painstaking years it often takes to bring a life-saving drug from the lab to patients.
It's a long road, absolutely.
Yeah, medical research, drug development. For all their critical importance, they've historically been slow, incredibly meticulous, and often, prohibitively expensive.
That has been the reality.
But there's a powerful shift happening right now. Artificial intelligence is moving beyond just theory. It's transforming the very story of medical progress.
It really is. The pace is remarkable.
Our focus for this deep dive is precisely that, AI-based clinical trial solutions and their, well, profound impact.
A really critical area.
We're going to explore how AI isn't just some trendy term, but a core driver of innovation and efficiency across clinical trials globally.
Yeah, getting down to the practical applications.
Exactly. Our mission for you, the listener, is to cut through the noise and give you a comprehensive, well-informed perspective on this crucial, fast-evolving field.
Kind of a shortcut to getting up to speed.
That's the idea. We'll first unpack the significant advantages AI brings, from accelerating processes to enhancing safety.
The upside, essentially.
Right. Then we'll delve into the very real hurdles of integrating this technology. It's not all smooth sailing.
No, definitely not. There are real challenges.
And finally, we'll look at some truly transformative trends that are shaping the future of medicine, like right now, as we speak.
Some exciting stuff on the horizon.
Okay, let's unpack this first part then. Historically, one of the biggest bottlenecks, just getting new treatments to patients, has been the sheer time it takes to design trials and then, critically, find the right participants.
Oh, absolutely. Recruitment is a perennial headache.
How exactly is AI making a dent in this massive challenge?
Well, what's truly fascinating here is how AI models are now predicting enrollment timelines with pretty remarkable accuracy.
Yeah.
And vastly improving site selection, too.
How do they do that? What's the mechanism?
They do this by analyzing enormous data sets. We're talking patient demographics, past trial performance at different sites, even detailed medical histories.
So crunching huge amounts of data.
Exactly. And this isn't just about speed, though that's part of it. It's about making informed risks.
Yeah.
AI can predict, sometimes with startling accuracy, if a potential trial cohort is truly viable.
Preventing costly failures down the line.
Precisely. Potentially preventing companies from sinking, hundreds of millions into trials that were just destined to fail recruitment from the start.
Wow.
Yeah, it shifts clinical development from what was often a high-stakes gamble to something more like a predictable, data-driven investment for sponsors.
Okay.
Which means significantly reducing those recruitment delays and just improving overall enrollment efficiency.
That's a huge step forward just for getting treatments off the ground. But beyond getting people into trials, what about keeping them safe? And spotting issues early once a trial is actually underway.
Right, that's critical.
This seems like an area where real-time data could make a massive difference.
You've hit on a key point. This is where machine learning algorithms are truly transforming safety monitoring.
How so?
Well, they can evaluate real-time patient vitals, data streaming from wearables, even other digital inputs continuously.
Like a constant watch?
Kind of, yeah. Think of it like an AI that's constantly monitoring thousands of data points to create a risk score for each participant.
A risk score?
Yeah, predicting the likelihood of adverse event, maybe hours or even days before a human clinician might spot a subtle trend in the noise.
That's incredible. Proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly. This predictive capability means we're moving away from just reactive safety monitoring, responding after an adverse event happens, to genuinely proactive patient protection.
That must change things fundamentally.
It does. It fundamentally changes safety oversight. It helps minimize patient harm, allows for much earlier intervention, and even helps refine inclusion criteria for future trials based on what's learned.
Refining the process itself.
Right. It's quickly become an indispensable component, really, in modern drug development.
So, okay, it's making trials faster, it's making them safer. What does this all mean for the bottom line? Because clinical trials are notoriously expensive, right?
Absolutely. The costs are astronomical, and AI brings significant cost optimization here.
How does that work in practice?
Well, several ways. It automates previously manual, really time-consuming processes like handling protocol amendments.
Okay.
It centralizes vast amounts of data processing, which used to be very fragmented, and it supports things like virtual consultations with patients.
Reducing the need for constant site visits.
Exactly. That alone dramatically reduces site management and monitoring costs. These features collectively add up.
So real savings then,
Oh, yeah. But these savings aren't just, good for the balance sheet. They're freeing up substantial capital.
which can be used elsewhere.
Precisely. We're seeing companies reinvest these efficiencies directly into exploring entirely new therapeutic areas, or maybe accelerating discovery for rare diseases that were previously just deemed too expensive or too niche to pursue.
So AI is actually helping to fund new research in a way.
In a very real way, yes. It's helping to fund the next generation of breakthroughs across various segments.
It sounds incredibly promising. I mean, the kind of transformation the medical world desperately needs.
It has huge potential.
But nothing this revolutionary comes without its challenges, does it? What's the trickiest part? Getting this AI tech fully integrated into practice.
That raises a really important question, and yeah, it's a major restraint right now.
Yeah.
Regulatory compliance and validation.
The regulators, always a factor.
Always, especially when AI makes decisions. Things like adaptive trial designs, where the trial parameters can actually change mid-study based on early results.
Which makes them much more efficient, I gather.
Hugely more efficient, yes. But those decisions, and others, like dynamically selecting eligibility criteria based on incoming data, require really rigorous validation.
Validation against what? What standards?
Well, against guidelines like the FDA's Good Machine Learning Practices, for instance, for listeners less familiar. These are basically principles guiding how AI models used in healthcare should be developed and validated.
To ensure they're reliable.
Exactly. Robust, reliable, transparent, especially when they're making decisions that impact patient safety or the integrity of the trial itself.
And that's slowing things down.
Right now, yeah, these regulatory uncertainties are definitely slowing down the full integration of some of the more cutting-edge AI tools that need that official sanctioning.
Okay, so it's not just about getting regulators on board, but also fitting this new tech into, well, existing structures and databases that might have been around for a while.
Precisely. That's the other big piece. The complexity of integrating AI platforms with legacy systems is substantial.
Legacy systems.
Sounds messy.
It often is. Clinical trial data today often exists in silos, separate, often incompatible systems.
You've got clinical trial management systems, or CTMS, managing logistics, then electronic data capture, EDC systems, for patient data entry, plus all the diverse electronic health records from hospitals and clinics.
Right, data all over the place.
Exactly. So getting these distinct systems to talk to each other seamlessly and integrate with new AI platforms, well, it demands substantial effort. Standardization is key, and often it requires significant restructuring just to make everything compatible.
A big IT project, essentially, on top of everything else.
A very big one, yes.
And of course, when we talk about processing sensitive patient data, privacy is always a huge concern.
Huge.
With AI involved, which, let's be honest, can feel like a bit of a black box to some people. That concern often amplifies, doesn't it?
It really does. And this is a critical point that demands constant attention. There are persistent and valid concerns around data privacy and ethics.
Because AI is handling very sensitive stuff.
Extremely sensitive. AI frequently processes highly sensitive patient data genomics, comprehensive health histories, you name it.
Which bumps up against regulations.
Absolutely. It dramatically increases the complexity of ensuring compliance with critical regulations like HIPAA in the US or GDPR over in Europe.
Both designed to protect patient data rigorously.
Right, especially when that sensitive health data flows across international borders, which it often does in global trials. Maintaining ethical transparency about how the AI actually uses and processes this data is paramount. It's non-negotiable.
Okay, so major hurdles. Regulatory, integration, privacy. Despite these significant challenges, though, it sounds like the innovation isn't really slowing down.
Not at all. The momentum is still very strong.
So what are some of the truly revolutionary trends emerging that AI is enabling? Things pushing the boundaries of what's possible in clinical trials?
Well, one of the most transformative trends really enabled by AI is the rise of decentralized and virtual trials.
Ah, yes, moving trials out of just the big research centers.
Exactly. AI is a key enabler here. It facilitates everything from remote symptom tracking using apps or sensors to handling e-consents electronically and continuous wearable-based monitoring we talked about earlier.
Making it easier for patients to participate.
Fundamentally, it makes trials much more inclusive by overcoming geographical barriers. Patients who might live hours away from a research center can now potentially contribute valuable data.
That must help with recruitment, too.
It does, and it also significantly reduces patient dropouts, which is a big problem in long trials. And it helps mitigate geographic biases in the participant pools. You get a broader representation.
Makes sense. Now, this next one really grabbed my attention when I was looking through the material. Synthetic control arms. What exactly does that mean? And why is it such a potential game changer?
Right. This is a truly fascinating and transformative approach. So instead of relying solely on traditional placebo groups,
Where some patients get the real drug and others get a dummy pill.
correct. Instead of that, AI-generated synthetic cohorts use vast amounts of historical patient data, real-world data, to effectively replicate what a real control population would look like.
So you're creating a comparison group from past data.
Essentially, yes. The AI can sift through countless anonymized patient records, clinical outcomes, health indicators, demographic data to build a virtual control group that very closely matches the characteristics of the group actually receiving the new treatment.
Wow. Where is that most useful?
What's really interesting here is its particular value in specific areas like, say, oncology or rare disease trials.
Why there specifically?
Because in those areas, patient recruitment is inherently difficult. There just aren't that many eligible patients. And sometimes there are critical ethical considerations about giving a placebo when a potentially life-saving treatment exists, even if it's experimental.
Right, you don't want to deny treatment if you don't absolutely have to.
Exactly. So synthetic controls offer a powerful data-driven alternative. It could potentially accelerate trials where finding enough suitable control patients is a major, major hurdle.
That could really speed things up for certain conditions.
Potentially, yes. It's still evolving, but the promise is huge.
So it's not just about the new technology itself being developed in isolation, but also new ways of working together, across industries maybe, to bring these advancements to life.
Exactly right. That's another key trend. We're seeing a significant surge in strategic collaborations,
Cool.
often between the pharmaceutical giants, the big pharma companies, and much more agile, specialized technology startups, particularly those focused on AI.
Bringing different strengths together.
Precisely. These partnerships are driving innovation through things like co-developed algorithms, creating new data-sharing ecosystems, carefully managed, of course, and building integrated platforms.
Combining the pharma expertise with the tech know-how.
Yes. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these collaborations are collectively setting new standards in clinical trial design and analytics. It really proves that the best way forward is often through combining that deep domain expertise with cutting-edge task skill.
Interesting. And looking at the broader industry picture then, how are companies adapting to all this rapid change in the AI clinical trial space? Who are the key players maybe, and how are they navigating this new landscape?
Well, the competitive landscape is definitely evolving rapidly, very dynamic.
How so?
We're seeing a significant shift, actually, in who holds the power, or at least the key technology. Smaller, agile AI startups, maybe ones with really niche algorithms for specific tasks like patient identification or data analysis,
Yeah.
they're becoming prime acquisition targets for the pharmaceutical giants or the big CROs, the contract research organizations who need to rapidly integrate this kind of technology.
So buy versus build sometimes.
Often, yes. It creates a landscape where innovation isn't just driven by traditional drug discovery chemistry or biology, but increasingly by data science acumen. That's a big shift.
So how are the leading companies responding?
The leading companies are leveraging various strategies, things like product differentiation, making their AI tools stand out, different pricing models. Those strategic partnerships we just talked about are key.
Yeah.
And of course, mergers and acquisitions to expand their footprint and capabilities quickly.
It sounds like a very active market.
Extremely active. The pace of technological progress is really highlighted by the constant stream of new product launches and geographical expansions by companies in this space. It shows just how dynamic this market truly is right now.
So wrapping this up then, what does this all mean for us? For patients, for medicine? It seems, at its core, AI isn't just an incremental improvement in clinical trials.
No, not just tweaking the edges.
Right. It feels more like a fundamental shift. It's making them faster, safer, more cost-effective, and importantly, inherently more inclusive.
All potentially speeding up the path to new medical breakthroughs that could change countless lives.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you, our listeners, to maybe mull over. Given AI's unprecedented ability to analyze these vast amounts of historical patient data for synthetic control arms for predictive analytics, how might our very understanding of human variation in response to treatments evolve?
That's a deep question when the baseline changes.
Exactly. And what new ethical considerations might arise when the benchmark for safety and efficacy is increasingly Well, a digital construct built from past data rather than a concurrent living placebo group.
Yeah. How do we ensure that digital representation is truly fair and unbiased? Lots to think about there.
It certainly is. It's something to consider as this technology continues its rapid advance. We really hope this deep dive has helped cut through some of the noise and provided you with a comprehensive, well-informed perspective on this critical area of innovation that is truly reshaping the future of medicine.